She don't need no father.
Exactly. She got a daddy. I made the worst joke.
Bravo. That was great. Welcome back to another episode of Romancing the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seff.
And this week we read The Duchess Steal by Tessa Dare. And boy, was it a struggle to get to this point. Did we or did we not try out like
a million
5 books?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And we finally settled on one that we all liked because we've been in and out of slumps, I feel like, for the past month. Well, which, it's weird because it's slumps as far as the podcast goes, but not in our own separate reading.
Yeah.
Like, I'm reading just fine on my own, but when it comes to picking a book for the podcast, because how it works is that we have, like, a list of books we want to read, but then some of them are very long and we're very busy, so now is not the time, and then, you know, sometimes one of us is not in the mood because of course, we had to all be mood readers because that just makes it easier for us. So anywho, Tessa Dare did it with The Duchess Steal. Seff, what is this book about?
Hold on, but also, this is S's first historical romance on the podcast.
Actually, well, yes, and it's Baby's second historical romance ever.
Yeah. For reals, it is. Yeah.
So
that I've actually finished.
Proud of her.
I'm so proud. This is when you insert the clap.
Thank you.
Here, we have our own sound effect because we're cheap. But yeah, S's second ever historical romance. So I'm curious to see what that means for her.
Yes, I am as well. I'm kind of nervous with her face already, but I mean,
why?
She wouldn't be on this episode.
Actually, can I just say first, because we never mention it at the beginning of the episode, but like, you know, if you want to follow us, give us a little review on any podcast platform where you can do so, please do. It helps us a ton to just know what you guys like, what you want to hear. Yes. Just show the podcast some support and give us a little like, a little comment, a little tweet. We love them. Keep them coming. Share. Okay, now, what is this book about, Seff?
So this book starts off with a bang. We have Emma, who is a seamstress, storming into our male lead, Ashbury. She storms into his library and literally she's dressed as a bride. Like, she is a bride right now. She's wearing the dress of his ex-fiancé, who he was supposed to be marrying sometime soon. Emma has not been paid for her labors on the dress, so she thought, let me make a statement, let me walk in, and literally, you know, take everyone's attention, because, like, this dress apparently was atrocious.
What does that say about Emma as a seamstress? Like, was the dress ugly because she's a bad seamstress, or because what the lady ordered was just plain ugly?
What his ex-fiance ordered apparently was so gaudy and so ugly that, like, it was just over the top. And, like, I think he even noticed, like, the stitching was done really well and, like, everything else was, like, it would have been it would have been an okay dress if, like, everything else wasn't, you know, if fashion didn't vomit on the dress, I think, you know, it would have been an okay dress. But anyways, we see Ashbury as, like, someone that's, like, scarred. Like, half of his body is scarred. He has burns everywhere, twisted scarring. He literally is someone's nightmare, I guess one could say. But Emma doesn't even, like, think twice. She just bombards him and, like, just demands that she gets paid for her labors. And then he decides, you know what? I've been looking for a wife. He literally just wrote it to, I think, his butler. And then he's like, what the heck? What is this? what did the gods give me? And then he literally just proposes marriage to her. And he's like, yeah, we'll get married. Like, you are a vicar's daughter, so we'll get married. And then she's like, what
Only in a romance novel.
Only in a historical romance novel would that happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else happens? Oh, right. So she basically denies it at first. She's like, nah, I don't want to get married. I'll take my 2 pounds and go. And then so she leaves, and then he finds her again. And then she decides, you know what? My friend Davina, who she also, I think she mends her clothes. Like, she alters her clothes. She's another lady, I believe, of the time.
Yeah.
She's pregnant. She's in a delicate situation, and she's not married. So obviously, you know, being an unmarried woman who's pregnant, obviously it does not roll with the London ton. So she needs to find a way to have her baby in secret. And so that pushes Emma to accept Ashbury's proposal of being his Duchess. So that he's going to give her a house in the country after she becomes pregnant. And that way she can hide Davina there. But obviously, we know that's not the case. Things happen, and her whole mission in this marriage is to get pregnant and have his heir. But during that time, they end up forming feelings for each other and breaking barriers, and the story is full of a lot of things.
Breaking all the rules.
Which we love to see.
Yes, of course. What did you guys think of this book? Let's start with us.
No.
As we always do.
Yes, as. I'm just so curious about her opinion.
Okay, so I didn't have high hopes in the beginning.
Really?
I didn't think I was gonna like it. Yeah, and it did take a little while for me to get, into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about maybe, I want to say like 40%, I was into it. I ended up loving it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to read the other ones?
I think so. The other one, I actually went into on Goodreads and checked out the next book to see who it was, and it's that I guess they were in the library, the Alexandra, and then that mysterious guy.
Yeah.
So I'm actually looking forward to maybe starting the next book.
Okay.
The second one, because I've read them all, I'm waiting for the last one, which is Nicola. So the second one was really good. I remember really liking it, and the third one I also really liked. So yeah.
Which one is the one with the goat? Because I think that's a lot of people's favorite.
That's book 3.
Wait, with the goat?
Yeah, she has a pet goat. Like, who is it? What's her name?
There is Alex,
there's Nicola,
and what was the other one's name?
Penny? No.
Yeah, Penny. So there's Penny. Yeah, Penny is the one with the animals.
Okay. Anyway, what about you, Seff? This was a reread for you.
It was a reread, and I enjoyed it again the second time around. I still laughed at the jokes. I'm still, enraptured with the story. I don't know. I just loved it. I love this book. I just think it's a fun ride. It's a very light book.
I feel like every book that we read for the podcast like a reread for you, Seff?
No.
Has there been one?
Not Beast of Beswick, and then
that was the first one.
Kiss of Steel wasn't. And then
that wasn't.
Heart of Iron wasn't.
No.
Oh,
that's it.
And Slow Heat, right? Yeah.
Slow Heat was a reread, though.
It was a reread for all of us.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Oh my gosh.
Poor Seff. She's like the resident rereader here. This wasn't planned, but it seems like that's the format. Like,
we need
Seff
to find
rereads the books.
Fine. Okay, how about the next one? We'll try to make an order. No, the next one probably will be a reread too.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Okay. That's okay. You get to visit old favorites. All right, go ahead, Marge.
How did you like it, Marge?
I liked it. Okay, here's the deal with me and Tessa Dare.
Yes, please give everyone the rundown.
I am not a big Tessa Dare fan. I find that I struggle, especially with her humor. It's just not really a humor that I connect with necessarily. I feel like you have to go into this series especially because I remember reading another series of hers that wasn't like this.
Spindle,
but I
Cove?
feel like you have but I feel like you have to go into this series thinking of it as a modern rom-com set in the 1800s.
Yeah.
it's ridiculously modern in, like, the ideas, in the humor, in everything. Like, it just... So if you go into it expecting that and not thinking of it as your regular historical romance, then it makes the experience a lot better.
I agree. I honestly feel like I've been saying this, like, Tessa Dare is, like, a modern-day love story written in the 1800s. Because, like, even the terminology she uses is modern. Like, a lot of things are modern in her books, but I mean, like you said, you gotta look past it. If you're going in for, like, historically accurate, then Tessa Dare won't be for you. Like, even at the end of the book, she talks about badminton, and, like, that wasn't really a term back then, but she decided to use it in the series because it was invented by a duke, apparently, but she's like, I'll just make it my duke that invented it, because it was called something else, and she just decided to include badminton in the story.
Oh, I didn't know that. Fun fact.
Yeah.
The more you know. Yeah, but S and I kind of talked about this before starting the recording, which was the audiobook.
Yeah.
Because we both, in part, did the audiobook, and this narrator... Okay. If you've listened to our Beast of Beswick episode, I would say that the same criticism that I had about that narrator is also true for this one, in the sense that she made the guy sound overly funny and ridiculous instead of hot.
Oh.
And so lines that I know, I was like, oh, in the book, this would have been hot and, like, intense, but, like, the way that she says it, you're like, it's actually funny. So I did have that issue of the narrator not being great, in my opinion, but, you know, she was funny. She was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so overall, enjoyed it. Don't think it's my kind of humor, but I would still be open to continuing on with the series, I think.
Okay, because I did see that you gave it a 4 out of 5, and I'm like, that's considerably really good for M's rating.
Yeah, like, I mean, I enjoyed myself. There's not much of a plot in this book.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that has to be said. This book has no plot whatsoever. Like, it's just the characters being together in a room, and somehow that's enough for a whole book, which the book is fairly short, so I guess maybe that justifies that. But, yeah. How did you feel about the characters?
How did you feel, Les?
Silence.
No. Okay. I just don't want to, like, take over the whole episode.
You can, Seff, if you want.
Well, we're just gonna move on then, if no one has anything to say.
Okay. Marge, there's something I learned in teacher's college. It's called the awkward silence until someone decides to talk.
Yes.
Okay, are you gonna go?
Yes. Speak.
I'll go.
Okay.
So your question was, how do we like the characters?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like them. I really loved, what was her name? Emma? I really loved Emma. I feel like she was really strong. And then I think for the guy, it took me a little while to, like, you know, warm up to him, but I liked him. By the end of it, I loved him.
Yeah,
So.
I think for these characters, like, Emma was great from the get-go. Ash, I think a little bit in the beginning, he was like, I think it was, you know, his personality has been very closed off, and, like, he just wasn't willing to accept anyone into his life. So, like, I think his own mentality and, like, his comments towards Emma were a little bit sexist, and, like, I wasn't really feeling his comments. But, like, as the story progressed, he became, like, a better person and a better man because he finally let someone in. Yeah, so, like, I think at the beginning he was rubbing me a little bit of the wrong way, but I mean, I liked both characters.
How did you feel about the fact that he really didn't want her to continue being a seamstress and doing what she loves? I had an issue with that. Like, I understand that that's probably the most realistic plot point in this novel, is the fact that the Duke would say to his Duchess, absolutely not. Your job is to look pretty and, like,
yeah, that's, you know, like, one of the comments
carry your name, but, like, it's not to be, you know, creating dresses for other people. But I was kind of like, you asshole, like, she actually loves this.
Yeah.
And, like, you're over there playing badminton and she can't fucking make dresses. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I was mad. Like, how dare you? I mean, she kind of did continue with her passion, but like he did say no a couple times, and I was like, once was enough, sir. Once was too many times.
I think for his character at that point, I don't think he fully understood what it meant for her to be like a seamstress, because all he saw were the calluses on her hands, her saying that like she can't even read for like an hour in the evening because her eyes, they can't focus because she's been like a seamstress for so long. So I think he looks at like the things she's lost and like the trouble she's gone through. He also obviously, we find out that, oh gosh, I can't speak. We found out that Emma at 16 was thrown out from her house, from her father, because she, had sex with another person in the, I guess, the village area, the country. And yeah, she was thrown out. And then because of that situation, she was forced into like a job, like a laborer's job. And he just saw like all of that and like what she's been through. And like he doesn't want her to feel like she has to do it. I don't think he knew at that point that it was her passion. And like it was something she really, really enjoyed doing. So I think, I don't know. I think like I didn't like that comment either. And I was like, dude, don't do that. Don't say that.
I think I'm going to sound like a hypocrite right now, because part of like something I really liked about Ash and his personality was his quickness to say no. Like, he's just like, no. And there's no explanation whatsoever. Like, if he doesn't like something, it's just no, and that's it. Like, he's just, I thought that was really funny. Like, I liked that about him, and how it kind of stayed that way. Like, that's just how he is. It's just like, no. Actually, no.
But like the only one who can get him to change his mind was Emma. Like I remember him saying like, no, I'm not going out. I'm not going to Penny's house. Like I'm not going. And the next thing you know, it jumps to him at the door. It's one of my favorite things. Like I love seeing it in movies, but like I think Tessa Dare does such a good job of making me feel like I'm in a movie, but like in book format.
Yeah. Oh no, I love when that happens in a book where the hero is just like, absolutely not. I would never do that. Stop asking me about it, and then there's a jump scene, like a jump cut, and then it's like him doing the damn thing he just said he wouldn't do, and I'm like, applause. I love it too. You just know that Alpha is fully at the feet of his lady. Yeah. By that point, he's just, I don't want to say the word. Is it pussy whipped? Pussy whipped? Is it pussy whipped? Pussy whipped, yeah.
Oh yeah. This boy was pussy whipped before like the book even started. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I can see that.
But question. Now that we're talking about, being whipped, how did you guys feel about like the beginning of their relationship?
Did we read the same book? Why are you talking about whips?
Not whipped. I meant like in the terms of like the sexual nature.
Oh, this book was hot.
It really was.
I was surprised. Okay. I wasn't expecting the sex to be this hot.
Tessa Dare writes good smut.
Yes, and great dirty talk.
How did you feel about the beginning of the relationship? Like, night 1. And then...
It was awkward.
That was funny.
And then night 2. And then finally night 3.
Because he thinks she's a virgin. And she's like, actually, no. And I love that she says so afterwards. Yeah. Like, actually, no. And he's like, wait, what?
Okay, I'm talking about the progression.
I know, yeah.
Like, night 1, it's pitch black. He, like, outed all the fires. And this boy, like, stubs his toe and then, like, falls onto the bed. And then it was just a nightmare. And then night 2,
the cat.
He got attacked by breeches. And, like, he's there holding, like, his family jewels. And, like, just really hoping that they don't get scratched out. Because he's like, it's the only working part of my body. Like, it cannot leave me.
I love when he explains the morning he woke up after what happened to him. Like, when he caught fire, essentially, because something exploded and whatever. And he says, the first thing I grabbed was my jewels, my family jewels. And he was like, they're still there. It's fine. I can live.
That's all that mattered.
I won't die.
That's such a man thing to think about. But I mean, yeah, I guess.
I mean, doesn't she say at one point that, like, Ash is just too stubborn to give in to death? Like, he's just like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sex scenes were very hot. The progression was hilarious. That scene, though, on the wall, I was like, whoof. Okay, Miss Tessa Dare, I hear you.
Oh, yeah. Was she, like, trying to pick up a book on the shelf? in the library? Is that the scene you're talking about?
Is it? I don't know. Like, he just goes...
There are so many scenes.
Yeah, there's a
like,
lot of sex
scenes
in this
when
book,
they're like...
actually.
Yeah.
There's a couple scenes. I don't know. It's just like she's... Oh, and then I think my favorite sex scene in this book is when he's saying like all the don'ts.
Yes,
like don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And she does it. Like, that's like their little game. I was like, okay, I'm here for this. You guys are having fun. I'm having fun. This is fun.
That was a good sex scene. All the don'ts and the do's.
I love that scene.
And then when he mentions "don't love me," and she's like, "Too late," and he's like, "Don't say it." She's like, I love you so much. Oh, I love that.
And especially like the progression of him saying, "Don't kiss me," because that was one of his rules. It was like, "Do not kiss me." But in this instance, it's like you see the progression of his character because he's actually asking for it.
Yeah.
So you see that he's finally moved on. Plus, I mean, it was so heartbreaking when you learn that the rules weren't his to begin with. That was the rules that the other girl had put in place.
Annabelle. Yeah.
Fuck her. How did you feel at the end when she's like sort of redeemed / not quiet? Like you just at the ball when she greets them and you kind of get the feeling that she's apologizing in like the weirdest way possible. Like I was just like, no, bitch, bye.
Okay, for her character, like as much as I can call her a bitch, realistically speaking, she was a young girl, very sheltered in life, and then next thing you know, you see like your fiance of 2 years like coming back like quote unquote monstrous. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like I could see her side of things, but also
you don't have to get,
what she did.
You don't have to get petty about it. But she did get petty about it, which...
She did, at the theater with Emma. But, like, do you, like... Because, like, I started seeing it the way she said it, too, but then obviously not. We know Ash. We know that he really just wanted to do this for her, for Emma. Like, give her a nice, beautiful dress. Give her, like, a night out. Let her be seen. But, like, he chose red. And, like, I don't know if it's because she looks great in red, but that, she told him she was wearing a bright red dress the night that, her life got ruined.
My theory is about that, because I thought about it, too, about the red dress. My theory is that, isn't that the color of the dress she wore when she went to see that guy the first time? She wore a red dress. And, because I was thinking, I wonder if that's his way of, like, reshaping that night for her and giving her a good night spent in a red dress and like a good memory attached to a red dress, as opposed to a night where she was essentially like asked to have sex with someone when she expected like a proposal. You know what I mean? So when she was used essentially, I kind of thought that was what he was doing.
So that was him reclaiming her red dress.
I mean, that's my theory. The book doesn't say so, but I was like, you know what? That's my canon.
I think, you read between the lines.
But it kind of went to shit, though, because it's stupid.
It did.
Yeah. But not really. That's when he decided to kiss her and, like, confess that he really cares about her and that he was selfish in wanting to marry her because he wanted her. And then we also got their night in the... weird, nasty inn.
Yeah. What's his name? Trevor?
Oh, I love Trevor.
I love Trevor.
So
Trevor and Ash together. I would have taken a whole book of just those two.
Yeah.
Like, their banter and like how Ash just shuts it down so quick, but he still lets Trevor walk around him and like walk behind him.
And like how he's like, oh, Trevor, you're such a menace. And then Trevor's like, oh my God, that's my name, the Menace. I just love that. Like, he said it as if like...
And then he comes up with a slogan.
Yeah.
And then, like, he turns to Emma, and then was it like, you've been menaced? Or something like that. It was just so, like, I can just envision it. And I'm like, how is Emma not dying of laughter? Yeah. Like, this kid is so funny.
So cute. Trevor was so cute.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When do you think Ash's feelings started to change towards Emma?
Page 1.
You think it was page 1?
That boy fell hard. I think he fell pretty much right away.
Yeah.
But he didn't like acknowledge it until later on, obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah, I mean, she did too. Like, I feel like you started seeing their love and or affection for each other pretty early on. Mm-hmm. And then it just took them a little while. But, like, even then, like I'm saying, like, this book doesn't have much of a plot. Like, the climax, if you will, or, like, the big conflict at the end is, like, resolved within, like, 2 paragraphs, and that's it. Yeah. Like, and, like, they declare their love for each other pretty quickly. And then I was thinking, oh, like, this is not gonna go down well. Like, one of them is gonna... like, rejected or something. I don't know. Like, I was expecting some drama and angst here, but it's really not the book of angst. It's really not. Really,
I mean,
they had their misunderstandings.
It's really weird, but the way Tessa Dare wrote things, I still felt the angst.
Really?
Like, I think it was, like, the whole no kissing, or, like, him always pulling back, and just, like, the situations he would put them, like, both of them in. But, like, I kind of felt the angst because, like, Emma wanted more, and that he also wanted more, but, like, I don't know, I felt the angst. I just, like, I don't know. The way it was written, I felt angst.
Okay. Back to that first sex scene. Go. I think it's very...
like, successful sex scene?
No, the very, very first one where they don't do anything.
Oh, he just stumbles about? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's very interesting and telling of his character how she says please, and, like, right away he thinks there's no way in hell that she's saying please because she wants more, because she wants me, she desires me, but rather, of course, she's saying please as in, like, please stop, I can't bear this. I thought that was very telling of, like, his character and his feelings towards himself, of, like, there's absolutely no way that she could ever desire me.
That, for me, like, it's part of my, like, the monster that I have of the story, so I don't want to get too into it right now, but, like, yeah, he just, like, I feel like he makes up his mind about people and, like, what they
think of him,
want in life before, what they think of him, before, they have a chance to prove him wrong. Like, he expected her to be, like, disgusted by him. So, like, he took her words and actions as disgust.
And then just to make sure, he then went on a walk at night knowing that he would find some kids that would be terrified of him, just to confirm that in his own mind of, like, okay, yes, I'm actually disgusting. Like, that is deep. Like, poor guy. Like, I feel like he's the embodiment of, like, self-sabotage. Because even by the point in the book where he has convinced himself that she actually wants him, he's like, but she shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, it switches to something else of, like, okay, well, she desires me, but, like, she shouldn't actually. Like, this is a bad thing. You shouldn't want me. So it's just, he, like, can't let that go. He really can't.
And I think it's just, like, it's been years of, like, build up and, like, years of being alone, that it's just, like, he can't possibly fathom someone wanting to be with him and wanting to spend their life with him. He just sees it as, like, she deserves better. Like, he won't be her equal at all in terms of looks. Like, I mean, his scarring was bad, but he never gave himself a chance.
He really didn't. That breaks my heart.
But...
yeah. And I have a quote here, because remember that one sex scene where it's a don't. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's kind of a callback to, at one point in the book, he says, because she starts caring for him and says so, and he says, stop. He silently pleased. Don't do that. Don't come any closer. Don't ask about my wound. Don't care. A better man would have been grateful for such sweet concern, and a part of him was grateful, a part of him wanted to fall at her feet and weep. But that bitter, scarred other half of his soul couldn't stomach her pity. The devil in him would lash out at her in some unthinking, unforgivable way. So I just think it's interesting how the don'ts come back, but this time around it's, like, in a healed, happy way, like a healthy way of just, like, it's, I don't know. I thought that was, like, a nice shift, like a nice progression of beliefs and outlook.
And, like, I think going back to, like, the whole, like, idea of, like, him being seen as, like, the devil, I feel like in relation, like, in all, like, he always talked about her and her goodness and her light. And, like, he, like, it's hard to explain, but, like, she's the goodness, and, like, he always refers to himself as, like, the monster, the demon. And, like, obviously that touches upon his lack of self-love. Exactly. And, like, even I have a quote. So this is, like, I think she was trying to pull down the drapes. Mm-hmm. And then so a waterfall of blue velvet rushed to the floor. The room flooded with sunlight. Ash caught the ghost of his reflection in the window pane. What a picture. Emma descending from the heavens above him on a cloud of muslin, and him, the monster, lurking beneath. And, like, that quote just stuck with me because it's, like, he literally sees himself as, like, this grotesque, demonesque?
Yeah.
There you go. Monster.
Yeah.
And, like, he sees her as, like, this angel, as, like, this, his savior. And while, like, I guess she was his savior in some sorts, like, the way he, like, put her on a pedestal at the beginning of the story, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just, like, obviously, like, that kind of, like, changed as the story progressed. Like, she was no longer, like, this unattainable angel.
Yeah.
But, yeah, his lack of self-love, man, really made him, like, see himself as a monster.
Yeah. When she realizes that he shaves, and then, because, like, she's like, oh, that must hurt. Like, I just loved that little detail of, like, her realizing that he shaves for her benefit, you know, when he goes down on her.
Yeah.
Because she realizes that it doesn't hurt.
Because we know he loves doing that.
Yeah, but, like, her realization of, like, oh, he really does that for me, and that actually probably causes him pain because of the scars, but he does it, and he never complains, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh, that's cute. That's actually really cute.
How did you girls feel about his first, I guess, unveiling of sorts? Like, you know, he kept talking about how they need to have sex in the dark.
Yeah.
Like, she's never supposed to see him in the light, but then obviously her, and I believe it was Alex, going around the house trying to change all the clocks. Yeah. And they finally see him, and Emma finally sees him, you know, uncovered. What are your thoughts on, like, that whole situation?
It happened a lot quicker in the book than I would have thought. Like, I really was expecting... Well, I mean, I don't know. Okay. Here's the thing. This book is very, very similar to The Beast of Mayfair.
Is it really?
Yes, I was picking up on that,
almost exactly the same plot and almost exactly the same characters. Like, I was kind of mind blown by that.
Yeah.
So in The Beast of Mayfair, like, the unveiling, as you call it, happens at the very, very end of the novel. Yes. So I guess that's why unconsciously I was kind of thinking it would happen later on, but it really doesn't. Like, maybe for 50% of the book or so, and then from then on, it's like, actually, I see all of you and I like all of you type thing. Mm-hmm. Did you have any thoughts on that, S?
No, not really. I mean, it happened. I thought that scene was funny because both her and her friend were stuck in the room, and I just kept thinking, like, how the fuck are they gonna get the friend out of there? He's undressing. Yeah. The friend's gonna see his dingling. You know, that's what crossed my mind during when I was listening to that.
Can I just say that I think it's very funny that these men who are, like, half disfigured always have the greatest ass you can possibly think of. It's always mentioned. It's like, oh, he's half disfigured, but his ass, though.
That's a good ass.
It was the same.
And, like, I love how she names the cat after his ass.
Breeches.
But, like, I was the same with Thane in Beast of Beswick. I'm like, this is a trend, clearly. Like, when you have a disfigured hero, he must have the greatest ass you've ever seen.
Yeah.
True.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Zadist in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, I'm pretty sure he had a great ass too once he filled out.
See?
I mean, I think it's just a thing.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah. We love a good ass.
But I do like that following that scene in particular where she finally sees his body, I love how Emma knows how important and, like, makes a point of asserting how she desires his body specifically.
Yes.
Like, she makes a point of making it clear to him, I love you but I also desire your body as it is. Like, I love how she did that. Like, she doesn't really mention, like, oh, I know he needs to hear this probably, but she just does it because it's like she just knows he needs to hear that. I don't know. I like that about her, how she's just so determined and assertive of like what she wants, what she likes, and isn't afraid to say it, and like somehow is very attuned to like what people need. You know, she's like that with the girl that needed her help. She's like that with Ash. You know, she's like a kind soul, really. Just
yeah, she's such a kind soul. And like, I think for that, I think it's this book really, like, it really focused on self-love and like him not loving himself enough to be seen as deserving of it. Like, he honestly didn't love himself at all. He had not even 1 ounce of self-love, which I think is a little bit different than the Beast of Beswick, because while that story was more of like their romance building, this one, she loved him quite early in the Duchess deal. She loved him quite early, and I think the readers obviously knew that, but I think it's this his inner struggle of like not believing that she could love him and not believing that she could want him, I think was the main conflict of the story, not them loving each other, because pretty early on they both loved each other, but like he needed to realize that he deserves that love.
Yeah, plus it was important that she prove to him, or show him, not necessarily prove, but show him that she doesn't find him disgusting, and she isn't simply tolerating his affections. Because I think the word tolerating is important here, because he's like, okay, well, you don't find me disgusting, but maybe you're just with me because you have to. And I think there's a part in the book later on where he kind of puts into question her affection for him. Like, there's a shift, and he's like, oh, well, maybe actually all of this was just because you had it was just like a means to an end type thing. So I think it was important for him to know also that it wasn't just her tolerating him, but actually loving him and like being physically attracted to him also. Yeah.
And it felt like he was waiting for that, like, aha, like I knew it. Like he wanted, he wanted like to prove her, would it be like prove her wrong? I guess.
Yeah, like prove that she was lying.
Yeah, like I knew it. Like, and he's like, I'm not even mad.
He was like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Oh, breaks my heart.
And like, it's so heartbreaking because like she loved him, and like he was so lovable. Even his butler Khan like treated him like a son. Like he loved that guy so much, and like I just love Khan and him, like his relationship. I just think they were so great together.
He was great. Yeah, he was a great character.
I love a butler that is absolutely shameless, because you have like 2 types of butlers in historical romance. You have like the butler that's just so rigid and like never talks and just does whatever, and he's kind of like a stick figure in the background. But then you have the butler who's like absolutely shameless and will tell it like it is, and they're just so great, because you're like, they're absolutely disrespecting authority, and you're just like, yes, you're the greatest. And he was like,
when Khan was trying to get Ash to see Reason close to the end of the story and like get him to go to the ball, I was dying every time. Like he kept pelting a cricket ball
at like, him, this guy directly at him.
Yeah, and even like hit him in the gut, I think. And I was just like,
in
Khan, man.
Yeah, that was great.
It was so great.
Another thing that I adore in romance, especially historical, because I feel like there's like I do love that in contemporary too, but a scene where the hero or the heroine undresses their love interest, but not in a sexual manner, in like a taking care of you type of way, like because the love interest can't do it at the moment, like some, I don't know, they're sick or they're not feeling well or they're passed out, or what, not passed out in a gross way, but like in a something happened and their clothes are dirty or whatever.
Marge, we get it.
Anyways,
we get it.
I love that. I love that, and he does that to her in this novel, and I was like, oh, that's so cute, because it's I love taking care. Okay, I just love people taking care of each other, because like, yes, the sex is great, yes, we all need it in the books, but I also think there's just something about affection and care that's also so, it just speaks to me on like another level.
Yeah. It's like the next level of intimacy, I feel. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's like you're putting your life in someone's hands, clearly. And it's just like, yeah, the way he took care of her and like made sure like she, the nasty like bed bug ridden bed, whatever, was covered with his top coat. And like he made sure like the silk side was up so she would, be, on something soft. And it's just like, the overall scene, it was a beautiful thing to read.
Because it shows that it's not just about the uses of the body, but rather like the well-being of the body. Like you actually care about that and not just like, oh, you're someone I like to fuck. Like it's actually like, you're someone I like to take care of because you're more important to me than myself sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have a quote about that. What do you want to say, Az?
No, I just said that it's always the best when it's like the grumpy, broody characters.
Yes, of course.
And then
of course,
they show their little caring moments, and it's always the best.
Yeah,
they were really the grumpy and sunshine trope.
They are. They kind of are. The quote is, "You're wet and you are cold. You don't like you don't like being cold. Therefore, I despise you being cold. I would go about murdering raindrops and setting fire to the clouds, but that would take slightly more than an hour, perhaps even 2." Just love that.
Yeah. He was always so funny. He had a lot of funny moments.
He did.
He did.
I think it was really interesting how his disgust of himself, I guess, also played into his future relationship or his lack of relationship with his future son, his future kids, like how it even shaped how he saw himself as like a future father. I have a quote about that because I have a lot of quotes today, apparently. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so his fear of not measuring up to his father was interesting to me because he had a great father and he was just like, because of what happened to me, I could never be a great father because my kid would obviously be afraid of me. Stupid. Idiot. So he says, or like in his thoughts, he says, Ash's son could never admire him the way Ash had worshipped his own father. His father had been unfailingly wise, good-natured, and patient, not ill-tempered and bitter as Ash had become. His father had been strong, able to lift his son onto his shoulders without wincing. His father had possessed a handsome, noble face, a face that had never failed to make Ash feel protected and secure. And if Ash couldn't give his son that bone-deep feeling of safety, it was better that he stay away.
Yeah, no, I just think it goes back to, like, his lack of self-love. And if you want, we can get into the monster, but I mean,
we can go into the monster. Let's just go into the monster. I feel like we're edging it since the beginning and not going into it, so let's go into it. What's the monster of the story, Az?
The monster is, I don't want to say like the fear of rejection for Ash. Can we say rejection?
I think so.
The fear of rejection, the fear of not being wanted. I feel like he's like a really relatable character in the sense that he was so hard on himself that us as humans, we're so hard on ourselves, Exactly. I'm so hard on myself.
It's a very relatable thing. Okay, I think for once it's Ash himself. Like, obviously not like physically, but like mentally he is the monster. Yeah, sure, like society doesn't help with, treating him or looking at him as something other and like, getting scared and things like that. But I think he, as I said before, like he's made up his mind about people before they had a chance to prove him wrong. And like he pushed everyone away, like his friends that actually wanted to stay his friends, he pushed them all away because he didn't think he was deserving. And like he didn't love himself. Like I think it just comes down to self-love. Like it's something that we all struggle with, like he had to love himself before the monster could stop, obstructing his happiness. And like the monster in itself was, the lack of self-love, at least in my head. But yeah, that's what I thought too.
Emma actually says something interesting about rejection at one point. She says, It's not pity or distaste that worries you. You're not afraid of rejection. You welcome it. But if you're seen for everything you are, the strengths and the flaws, the beauty and the scars, you might have to believe you're wanted, loved.
He don't want to believe
That's what he fears, being wanted, or believing that might be possible, because to him it's not. So it's not necessarily rejection, because that's kind of true. Like, he goes out at night hoping to see kids, like, scream, seeing
draw back in fear.
Yeah.
He didn't love himself to want to do better and, like, do better, and this caused him to think that people could do better than him. Like, he honestly thought Emma could have done 10 times better than, you know, settling for him. And, like, he tried pushing Emma away numerous times, but, like, if she wasn't so strong and sound-minded, like, you know, she probably would have been gone a long time ago, but, like, she fought for him and, like, was his champion before he could be one himself. And I think, yeah, it comes back down to, you know, letting yourself realize that I'm actually a great person. Like, I'm lovable. I can be loved. I can love people. And yeah, and I think even when he finally looked at himself in the mirror, I think it was like the last chapter of the book, like, he said himself, like, it wasn't as bad as he made up in his mind. I think in his head he built up this monstrous, like, being, and, like, I have a quote. I have it saved. Okay, so he hadn't viewed himself in a mirror for more than a year. It actually wasn't that bad. Well, the scars looked bad. That wasn't in question, but he'd grown used to the fact by now, and he felt a bit stupid for avoiding his own reflection all this time. It wasn't as though he could change it. So at the end of the book, he finally accepted what he looked like, and he realized, hey, maybe it's not that bad.
Plus, like, in the quote, it says he hadn't seen his face in a year. So the monster is really the concept or the vision that he had of himself, not so much himself, but the construct in his own mind of what he looked like, because he didn't know. He's never seen himself since the accident. Like,
yeah, he would cover mirrors and like not have any mirrors.
So it's not him, but rather what he's imagined himself to look like.
Exactly.
As for Emma, well, I mean, I think it's clear that, again, unsurprisingly, it's the women in these books that get punished for men using them or manipulating them or, you know, deflowering them. It's always the women, huh? But I think part of I think the monster is more subtle with Emma, and I think it has to do with her father. It was really interesting, the scene where Davina finally is about to admit to her father that she's pregnant, and Emma realizes, like, I imposed upon her situation my own situation. Like, I thought that he would obviously react the same way that my father did. I mean, Emma wasn't pregnant, but, you know, she was ruined. And, like, the fact that she immediately assumed that what happened to her would happen to Davina.
Yeah.
And turns out it wasn't. Like, I thought there was something in there of, like, her monster. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a very, like, valid point, because obviously her father's love was conditional, and he was a shit father, and, like, obviously that made her look for love in the wrong places, because I remember they also talked about Robert, and, like, he apparently was only using her for something. And then, obviously, Ash thinks of himself as, like, a wrong place for her to look for love. But, I just think it comes down to, like, her dad just not being a dad. And, like, expecting, as you said, the same from Davina's dad. And, like, when she finally sees she's been wrong, and, like, she was about to, like, literally take this girl, like, to the country because she thought that she feared her father. But in reality, she was just scared of worrying her dad and disappointing him. And, like, that also caused a rift in her and Ash's relationship, because he thought at that point that she was only with him, you know, to get a house in the countryside. But yeah, so yeah, I think it did play a big part in her life and the way she viewed people.
What do you guys think about her not forgiving her father when he came to look for her?
That's fine. She lost a toe because of her dad.
Girl, yes.
The toe.
Yeah.
The missing toe. I was like, that's so random, but also funny. But
no, but it's like, it's just so sad.
Yeah.
If you look deeper, it's like she was forced to walk. Obviously, she didn't have the proper boots. She didn't have the proper, coat. She literally got frostbite on her toe in the middle of winter because her dad kicked her out, didn't even give her money, and she was forced to walk, to London. She was forced to walk. And, that's so heartbreaking.
Did I understand correctly that she had sort of a fear of the cold because of that?
She got a fear during that time, her walk.
But, when they're stuck in the house
because of everything.
And it's cold, doesn't she, start shaking, but out of fear?
Yeah.
Isn't that related to the trauma of having gotten, frostbite?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, she developed that during her walk to London, I think. That whole situation. Yeah. So I think maybe down the line she could forgive him, but right now when he came, just because the devil spoke to him, which obviously
was so funny.
Was Ash.
Yeah.
He wasn't apologizing for the right reason, so still a selfish reason. Yeah. If Ash didn't show up at his window, he would never have found Emma to apologize.
I think I was glad that she didn't forgive him. I think it just shows that, because she said that she used to look for love in the wrong places, and I think that her father is the wrong places, and so for her to go, nah, actually I don't want you in my life, was kind of, it illustrates how she's moved on from that. She doesn't need to be looking for love in the wrong places now, because she has love in the right places. She don't need no father.
Exactly. She got a daddy. I made the worst joke.
Bravo. That was great.
Oh, Lord. God's gonna smite me.
That should be the title of the episode. You don't need no father, but you got a daddy.
Perfect. I love that.
Oh, Lord. I'm trying to go into the next thing.
I don't know.
But literally, I was just gonna ask S, how did you feel about her not forgiving her father?
No, the same. Your same response as you. She lost the fucking toe. So no. What did Ash call him? A poisonous bunched back toad? And insulted his curtains?
The insults were amazing.
I love it.
That whole part was so funny. Yeah.
How did you guys feel about that scene though, when he literally got up out of bed and left Emma as she was sleeping and goes to her dad's house in the countryside and pretends he's the devil?
I mean, hilarious.
I love that part.
What else can I say?
Yeah.
And then he tells her, or she finds out, and he's sure that she's gonna be furious, but then she kisses him thank you.
Yeah.
I also love the scene where he says Christ, and she's like, that's not in Shakespeare, and he quotes the page act line.
This man quotes Shakespeare. I love it.
He really was a good character.
He said something else too, and then he did again the same witch play and then the act and the scene and all of that. He's just so funny.
Anyways.
And there's S just nodding her head.
Anything else? Isn't it fucked up the scene where he tells her how dukes essentially can't commit any crimes, but I mean they can, but they won't be persecuted for them. I was just this is so fucked up, but I'm sure that's how it worked. A duke can pretty much do anything short of murder.
Yeah,
and get off just fine.
It's very interesting how they're above the law.
Yeah. I really
But he did get arrested,
huh?
right? He did get captured. He did get captured.
Yes, because they thought he was the monster of Mayfair, and then they didn't believe that he was a duke. So.
But, if they knew offhand, right off the bat, that he was a duke, he would not have been arrested.
He wouldn't have. Gotcha.
Yeah, he says the only thing that would get him arrested is murder. These assholes could do pretty much anything. and like get away with it.
Yep.
That.
How did you feel though?
Yes.
At the end, when I think it was in the epilogue, he finally decided to out himself and like say that he was the monster of Mayfair. Do you think that was necessary, or do you think, it could have been not done?
What do you think, Us?
I don't know.
You need to have thoughts!
I mean, I don't think it was a big deal. I mean, he could have done with saying it or not. I don't know.
I feel like it was necessary, if only because it had been mentioned of him outing himself. But
yeah,
I also would have liked for this like mystical figure to keep on going and be passed down to Trevor.
But Trevor did take it over. So then what happened when Trevor?
The mystery didn't like continue on.
But what in case Trevor was like, you know what? I'm out at the night, like, just doing my thing, and the next thing you know, he reads the newspaper, and he's like, oh, well, there you go. What happens then?
Well, he goes
Poor
back
guy's,
to
like, all dressed to the nines.
He goes back to being the menace of Mayfair.
I want Trevor to get a book. No? He doesn't get one?
No.
Oh, he's too little. I wanted them to adopt him, though.
Do you think
but then he said he had a great family.
Yeah, do you think that's true? I was like, is he kidding right now, or is he being for real? Like, for real, he has a good family.
I don't know.
I thought he was homeless. Wasn't he like a little homeless kid?
It felt like a setup in some ways.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll decide to give him a book later on in another series.
I just love Trevor. Can I adopt him?
Yeah. Right? Doesn't Ash mention something like tells him like not to curse anymore? Like he's gonna become a gentleman or something like that. If he wants to become a gentleman. So I don't know, I felt like that hinted at something like he's gonna like take him under his wing and
yeah, I don't know if it's because I've just read so many historical romance, but I expected him to take him under his wing and like perhaps even adopt him, just because it's like I expected for it to come out that Trevor actually doesn't have a family, because that's just so typical of historical romance, and then the rich duke takes under his wing the rich man, whatever, in historical romance, takes under his wing like the orphan boy and like makes him his heir or whatever. Like, that's kind of a trope. So I expected that, but that didn't happen.
No, because how else was he allowed out late at night if he's like this big, like he has a big house, and like, unless he sneaks out, but at 12 or 11 or 12, I don't know how old he was.
Like 12.
Yeah, it's just like really interesting that he was allowed out for so long, and like he always knew when to show up, and like he kept saying like, he knows the ins and outs of like the alleyways, like he knows things, and like that's how he knew to go to the prison to break what's his name, Ash, out of prison, because he knew, because he's been listening. I don't know. I just feel like as a little boy of, the rich ton, like he's not from the ton, but like of the rich families in Mayfair, it's very curious as to how he knew all that. So I hope it wasn't the deleted scenes that, Ash and Emma adopted him, but.
What do you mean deleted scenes?
In my head.
Oh, okay. I thought like Tessa there had said like there's deleted scenes for this book.
No, I mean like in my head, but also in Tessa's head. She has deleted scenes up in there.
Sure.
I feel like you know something, Seff, and you don't want to tell us.
How the heck will I know anything? I don't.
We're always suspicious.
Yeah, you see, this is why next book, it's not going to be one that I've read before.
What is next book? Don't even know. So we're off to a rough start.
We've been off to so many rough starts for so long.
Yes. I mean, actually, it started off great, and then I don't know what happened, but choosing books for a podcast is way harder than it seems.
Especially, as you said, we're all mood readers, so.
Yeah. I don't know how people pick books before they've read them. Like, no, but well, I mean, because, like, how do you know you're gonna like it? And then if you don't like it, why would you make an episode on it? Like, that's just not how we work. Over here at Romance and the Monsters, we don't, put out episodes about books we didn't like, so.
Yeah, because, like, I don't want to ever shit on a book, because so many hours go into writing a book and like all that stuff. I would never want to talk about how much I didn't like a book on an episode.
Yeah. We talk about it in private conversations, though.
That's a whole other story. That's a whole other...
Tune in for Romancing the Monsters After Dark. That's where all the tea is. No.
In our deleted scenes in my head.
Sure. All right. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of Romancing the Monsters. I hope you liked it. If you read the book, I hope you liked it. You can find us on social media at the RTM Pod on Twitter or Romancing the Monsters Podcast on Instagram. Also, Romancing the Monsters Podcast at gmail.com if you want to email us. But you can also find me at Foes and Lovers on both Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ButThisBook.
And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at Pearls with Woes.
See you next week, people. I mean, hopefully.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Oh, man. These aren't getting any better.
No.